Hi, I'm Adam,
This is Kevin.
and we are Tech Guys Who Invest. This is the place for business people and investors to learn all about investing. We offer a fresh perspective on what it's like to have a day job while investing, and we share lessons learned on our investing journey. Our vision is to educate and entertain you while adding tons of value to your daily commute. Welcome to our show. So it's very important that you periodically look back on what you've experienced and try to reflect on it and learn from your experiences. Like try to really understand what you've experienced and how you can use that to grow and go forward and learn from opportunities or lessons or mistakes or failures, to capitalize on wins. And being the last episode of 2019 for Tech Guys Who Invest, Kevin and I thought it would be pretty awesome to do that with you. So Kevin and I are going to take a few minutes and reflect on 2019. And we hope you learn from this technique and think about what 2019 was like for you. So Kevin, how was your 2019? If you could just kind of sum it up when you think back and wrap it all up and sum it up in just a couple of words, what would that look like for you?
If I'm thinking back to 2019, I really think about how much we've progressed as far as the podcast, how much that I've learned, and how much I've enjoyed this vehicle of educating others. I think it's helping you and I find what it is we really want to do. You could call it our calling or a purpose if you want to label it in such a fashion, but it's opening our eyes as to what it is, the path that you and I are trying to forge. And that's what this year has represented to me, for me. Alternatively, or on top of that, it also is a testament to just throwing yourself out there, taking action, getting out there and trying things. Because you can learn, there's always something that you can learn, right? If you just sit there and say, I'm going to learn more before I take action, I'm going to learn a little bit more, just a little bit more, just a little bit more before I take action and pull the trigger, you will never pull the trigger. You will never take action. So at a certain point, you have to just act. And that's what that, you could probably see it in the video. There's the baseball field, home plate right there. I'm not a big baseball fan, but it is an image that I look at whenever I do my visualization, because for me, that's what it represents. Is I'm at the plate, I got to swing. And whether the swing results in a strike, a pop fly, a home run, or a single, I have to be okay with that results, because I set myself up knowing that I have the resources, I have the knowledge. And when I swing, if I analyze a note and I look at all the possibilities and just something happens and it's a strikeout, for example, I have to be okay with that. That's okay. So when I think of 2019 is how far we've progressed, how it's helped me shape where I want to go with the podcast, with my life, if you will, and how I want to continue investing. For 2020, I think for me, what I'm looking at is learning more about the financial information that's out there. Like, okay, I get how to invest at a high level in terms of you buy an asset, that asset produces passive income. That I think I'm really comfortable with. I can educate people. We can talk hours about that. But I want to learn more about the systems that are in place, like the creature of Jekyll Island, how the Federal Reserve was created. All of those things that really sharpen my financial acumen. That is what I'm focused on for next year.
Excellent. Really good stuff in there.
How about you? What is 2019 for you?
Wow. If I could sum it up in just one or two words, I would say growth and acceleration for me. You said a lot of things that also resonate with me. The podcast has just been phenomenal for me as well. I just love this. It's so fun. And
Right.
I can't believe how much it has helped me grow. I didn't really see how much it would do that for me. I just thought it would be a fun thing to do and it would be valuable, but wow, it's way exceeded that. Some of the guests we've had on and been able to talk to and make friends with have been huge. And I never could have imagined we'd have some of the people we had on our show, and now we're friends with them and stay in touch with some of them and things like that. It was pretty awesome. So that's definitely grown me. I've really enjoyed working with you, and I love how our creative minds meld and make something greater than what I would have done on my own. That's
Exactly.
super cool. In the in the multifamily space, I've definitely I've exceeded what I thought I was going to be able to do in 2019. So I'm super happy with that. Closing on that 59 unit was just awesome for me, and that's opened other doors. And so, like, it's accelerating. The snowball starts now.
Right.
And I feel like it all goes together between the tech guys who invest, my multifamily business really starting to take off now, and the meetup we do locally. Those are all very rewarding, and it's just so much fun to know this is just the beginning and things are starting to grow. So that's where I'm going with 2020 is continue to push forward, continue to grow. And one of the things you said that resonates so much with me is action, taking action. Some of those things I did even though I was scared to do them, but you have to take action. And I knew even if I failed, I must move forward. And I'm so glad I did, because now I see that that's how you have to do things.
Yeah.
Also, persistence, man. I got to be honest, like just staying with it, even when you don't feel like it or you think it may not be working, you got to just stick with it. That's huge too, persistence.
I also think that towards the end of 2019, for me, it's things were starting to, the dots were starting to connect. Like I'm starting to see the picture with this action may yield this result, which connects to this bigger picture item. And it's all connected because at first, that's what I struggled with is, okay, if I do this, how does this help me with investing? I just didn't get it. And you do it enough times, you speak to enough people, listen to enough podcasts, you think, oh, if I do this, this connects to this aspect, which helps me further my journey, which helps me better analyze a node or a multifamily. And even just the contacts you make with people by just shaking hands and introducing yourself. You're like, oh, yeah, I know that this person does this. I can reach out to them. And it all starts to come together.
Networking is huge. Also, another thing that's just, it's so cool to me is how these wealth books on personal growth, when you first read them, it sounds like, man, this has got to be, I mean, this is fantasy
Fluffy.
land. Exactly.
Yeah, it sounds fluffy at first.
It does. But you read a lot of the same things over and over. I just finished this book, The Go Giver, and it was a great book.
Yeah,
And it says a lot of the same things. Some of these other books, like that 12 Pillars by Jim Rome, and a lot of the stuff from Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich,
right.
and T. Harv Eker's book. Um, they all kind of say a lot of the same things, and I'm seeing it though. And as you make connections and start to meet these other hyper successful people who follow those same guidelines and principles, you start to realize it is true. So if you just try to embrace that and follow it really well, those things do start happening for you. So they have, I feel like they have for me. And that's really cool to see. Also, I have to say, I have a strong faith in Christ, and I feel like that plugs into all this too.
Sure.
Some people might think, well, they're sort of at odds, like the whole, um, oh man, what is the movie we watched?
The Secret.
The Secret. Thank you. Yeah, The Secret, and all of the those theories of law of attraction and things. But I don't believe they are. I think it all ties in together, and that's just kind of part of creation and some of the rules of the universe. So they're not opposed in my mind, and I feel like personally that has also pushed me forward as my faith, because I feel like it's supporting my success, and because I have the right mind, which all of these resources talk about, including the Bible. They all talk about having that positive, that right mind, and choosing good and positivity. It helps you grow in that way because what you focus on expands. It's super cool to me.
What was the if you, this is a question that might be putting you on the spot, but other than taking action and developing your mindset, which are two things that you and I are passionate about, and I think if you listen to enough of the podcast, you recognize that was probably the two biggest themes of 2019. Outside of those two things, from an investment perspective, looking back at the year, what is something that you've learned or that has been solidified based off of the guests that we've had on the show?
There are a couple things that come to mind right away. One is the power of teamwork and how you can do so much more with a team and you can go bigger with a team. That's a really, really big thing for me. Like if I wanted everything to be under my control, I would have stayed small and dealt with duplexes, single family rentals, triplexes, those things. And you can do fine that way. I mean, you can do more than fine that way. But if you want to get really big, if you connect with a good team that fits you well and you fit well, you can drastically exceed what you could do on your own. And that's what happened to me. I got in with a good team. I really operate well with those guys at Dreamstone, Biano and Nick. And together, we've been able to do so much more than any of us could have done all by ourselves. So that's a huge one. And then the other one is kind of embrace your strengths and who you are.
Right.
So play to your strengths there. So the things that I'm not so good at, I'm good enough to get by until I can partner with someone who's awesome at them. And then I just let them have it, and then I focus on what I'm really good at and try to bring that to our partnership. So embrace who you are, embrace your strengths, bring those to the team. And man, I think that just slingshots you forward.
100%. I couldn't agree with you more.
What about you, man? What are some things that you feel like you've learned in your experiences, maybe particularly focusing on the note stuff you've done? What are some things that you've learned that you feel like you can take forward?
So this is a little bit notes, but also just investing as a whole. The idea of using leverage that doesn't necessarily mean financing from a bank, other people's money. That whole concept is what I learned the most out of 2019. And it's something that I had heard of before. You hear it all the time on the real estate podcast, OPM, other people's money, raising capital, these buzzwords that get thrown around, until you're actually doing it and you start to realize they are 100% right. And if you only use your money, you would only get so far. And this piggybacking off of teamwork. There are people out there that don't know what to do or they want to invest. They feel it's too risky for them to take control. They just don't have the time. And you yourself are in the trenches actually doing it. You can build a team together. You partner up together to acquire that asset. It's like the way I think about it. The reason this was so solidified for me this year is because I didn't grow up with that mentality. I wasn't raised to think that way.
Right.
It was save till you can buy something. But if you just save, you're not going to buy anything. It's just a matter of fact. You can buy one or two things here or there, but eventually you're going to have to use leverage. And if you use a bank, that is using other people's money. And if you look at how companies go public, they are doing the exact same thing. They are leveraging other people's money, other people's resources. So it was eye-opening to hear multiple guests that they do that. And it's just a normal thing. And they are more comfortable with it because they've built the team. They know that something goes awry, especially with notes, for example, you have an attorney that you go to. You just say, hey, in this state, this is what's happening. What do I do next? And you follow that expert's advice, because it's foolish of you to say, well, I don't think that's the right thing to do. And they're saying, hey, follow the law. That's what you should follow, right? So building that team is important. Another thing for me that I learned from our guests and just working with you and building the podcast is how intentional successful people are with their time. It's a difficult thing to do every single moment of the day, because there are times where I don't want to do anything, and that it's normal to feel that way. But I've recognized that the people that I admire, especially the guests that we've had on the show, they are purposeful with their choices of what they're going to do next, the appointments that they take. So that is something that I took out of it outside of the points that you had mentioned. So if you want to have awesome guests on your show, start a podcast. Just throwing that out there. You want to have cool conversations with really awesome people, find a niche and start a podcast. And you can talk to some of the coolest people in that industry.
Yeah, absolutely. And contact us. We'd love to help you out. I mean, Kevin and I will help you get started. And so don't be afraid to reach out if you'd like some help and you're thinking about starting your own. So
what are you most excited for 2020?
I am most excited for the next step of my multifamily investing journey, and also to grow this show. You and I have been talking about that a lot over the last few weeks, preparing for 2020 and talking about really growing the show. That is exciting to me. I can't wait to do that. Love to do more with this brand, Tech Guys Who Invest, and listeners stay tuned for more on that as the year unfolds. But multifamily, I'm looking at really continuing to expand my portfolio. Going into the year, I was hoping to get a multifamily or one or more up to 20 units, and I did 59.
Right.
So I'm going to set my sights much higher next year. Looking at 300. Thought about saying 500, and then I'm like, well, I don't know if I want to make it so hard that I feel like there's no way I can make it, or I'm not making enough progress towards it. So I'm thinking 300 might be a good one to stretch for.
Right.
So that's kind of what I'm thinking. 300 units to my multifamily portfolio. So that's going to be a lot of hard work, man.
That's good, but it's something that you can strive for. And if you shoot for 300 but get 250,
I'll be a happy camper.
We're not going to lambast you because you didn't get that extra 50 units, right?
I will be a happy man. How about yourself?
Yeah, so one of the things that I'm looking forward to is the evolution of the podcast and myself as a podcast host, and having this as a vehicle to help us grow. If we just continue to talk about the same things that we've been really emphasizing in 2019, you're going to get tired of the show. And that's not what we're trying to do. We want to keep it fresh. Because we want to keep it fresh, that means we have to learn more things. And that may be from talking to people, reading books, watching documentaries, but also taking action. Because I don't know about you, but it helps me stay mindful of, if I do this, I could talk about this on the show. This is something that I could share based off of that. So I'm excited for the evolution of the Tech Guys Who Invest podcast and brand as well. From a note perspective, I remember we went to lunch, coffee with some of our mutual friends, and we were talking about this. And I said 10 notes originally. I wanted that in my portfolio. And I thought, that's way too small. I got to think bigger. So now I was thinking, okay, 100 notes next year. Why not? So I was thinking that would be awesome, having a mix of that portfolio by the end of next year, whether it's performing or non-performing, but having those under the management or partnering up with people to have those. That is what I want, and that's what I'm looking towards doing. So if you're out there and you're listening and you want to help us with our goals, or if you think that, hey, this might be an opportunity, shoot us an email, techguyswhoinvest@gmail.com. If you want to learn more specifically about multifamily or notes, get on our calendar. We'd love to help you out.
So one last thing to take us out here, Kevin. This is going to be our first new year as a podcast, because we started this at the end of January last year.
This is true.
So our 1 year anniversary is coming up pretty soon. But do you know what our most listened to episode was?
I believe it was the one with Gino.
Yeah, I looked at a Libsyn stat a couple weeks ago that said shiny objects was.
Oh, that was it?
Yeah. Pretty wild, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. It is that syndrome sucks. I'll tell you that right now.
It's hard to battle, man. I battle it all the time. But we'll put that in the show notes if any of our listeners want to go back and listen to that one. It was like one of our first few episodes.
Yeah, let us know, what was your favorite episode that you heard from this year. What did you like about the podcast? What did you not like? We're always trying to grow. Any feedback is appreciated. And for our listeners who have left us reviews on whatever platforms you listen to, we appreciate it 100%. But for those who haven't, we would love a 5-star review on whatever platform. It helps us gain exposure because that's what we want to do, is we want to educate as many people as we can on how to invest wisely and safely.
Kevin and I are looking for a really good way to build relationships with our users and be able to interact with you more and better. LinkedIn is a platform that we think might be a good fit. So check us out at Tech Guys Who Invest on LinkedIn. Also, you can always go to our website, tgwipodcast.com. That's tgwipodcast.com.
And because we are educators and go-givers, if you will, we have something in store for our 1-year anniversary. We don't want to spoil it quite yet, but I just want to throw that out there and get the juices flowing that we'll have something for you, a gift from Adam and I to show our appreciation for you as listeners.
Awesome. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
That's it for this episode of Tech Guys Who Invest. This is Adam.
And this is Kevin. Thank you so much for listening to us. Don't forget to join our Facebook page where we're building a community of investors so that we can share ideas, tips, and other ways to help us get out of the rat race. If you found value in this podcast, it would mean the world to us if you could share it with your network. Lastly, we love feedback. It's how we get better. So if you wouldn't mind spending 30 seconds and leaving us an honest review on iTunes or Stitcher or whatever platform you're using, that would be super sweet. If you want to get on Adam or Kevin's calendar, go to tgwipodcast.com/contact. We want to help you invest safely, wisely, and ultimately get you out of the rat race. Thanks again.